About another potential attack thwarted in Houston, Texas, and some disturbing details coming out as we're beginning to see a pattern emerge for these attacks. Take a look at the latest headlines with me so that way you can see it for yourself. Now, the information coming out of an attack that was attempted Tuesday. Armed Texas man in tactical gear arrested after going into an elementary school through unsecured doors, as we're hearing that there is a pattern emerging of attacking schools. Now, take a look at this here. More information coming out today on this. We're hearing that the individual's actual name, he said that they originally heard that his name was Kyle Chris, but upon further investigation, he has been identified as Mohi Mohanad Najam, and it is said that he is Muslim and from Iraq. Now, they are trying to determine whether or not this is tied at this time to the attacks that are taking place all around that are ISIS inspired, but it is looking like it is going that route. Now, this comes as we are receiving the warnings. Take a look here. Coming out today, Senator issues a warning on sleeper cells attacking within the United States. And we're hearing as well, coming out today, that this war is ramping up, escalating. The U.S. is sending USS Tripoli, thousands of Marines to the Middle East. We're hearing that ground troops are now being sent for the possibility of a ground invasion to the Middle East to enter Iran. Take a look, Pentagon sending assault ship, at least 2,500 Marines toward Iran as the U.S. works to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. While oil prices strike, we're hearing things are escalating. They are not de-escalating. The United States sending more troops and ground troops at that. Now, in addition to that, take a look. Coming out today, Trump threatens Iranian leaders. Watch what's about to happen to these deranged scumbags, Trump says, as we are sending more troops over. And Pete Hegseth claims Iran's supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured, as we have heard that when he gave his first statement, it was not him that gave it. It was a letter from him, supposedly, and it was actually read across Iranian state TV. So I'm going to get you caught up on the latest as we're hearing that there is a disturbing pattern that is beginning to emerge regarding these attacks, these sleeper cell attacks. You're going to be seeing it for yourself that it is disturbing. We're actually going to be hearing from the mayor of one of the towns who says this is an attack. This is an anti-Semitic attack against children, babies. Very disturbing. Now, I'm going to dive into the latest details, the articles, the video footage to get you caught up on the warnings that have been coming out so that way you can see it for yourself. And we're hearing yet another one potentially thwarted here in Houston, Texas. And Houston, Texas was on the map of various cities they said to be on high alert in March of 2026. You'll recall for California, Los Angeles, San Diego, Silicon Valley, San Jose was on that list, and we actually had heard that there were potential threats of drone attacks. The White House saying unverified sources, though, but they're saying the threat did exist. The warning was sent out. However, Carolyn Leavitt's from the White House saying, you know what, those were unverified at the time that was sent, though. Now, in Texas, we had Houston, Austin, Dallas, we have New York, Michigan, several different locations all across the map. But I'm going to dive into the latest and get you caught up on it. Now, before we dive in, do me a quick favor. If you appreciate the updates, take a quick second, hit the thumbs up like button for me. Just help spread this out further across the YouTube platform while we are live. Subscribe to stay up to date. This is your first time here. It's totally free. Why not? And as you know, here on the channel, I'm going to cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it, so you can know and rest assured that this is the latest information coming out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what unfolded in Houston, and then we're going to be diving into some updates, video footage, so you can get the latest. Now, this says, armed Texas man in tactical gear arrested after going into an elementary school through unsecured doors. Kyle Chris, 39, originally from Iraq, became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 2022 and changed his name to Kyle Najim Chris, according to court documents. Now, this took place on Tuesday, but it's coming out today, March the 13th, as they are suspecting that this could have been another potential sleeper cell attack on a school. Now, an armed man wearing tactical gear walked into a Texas elementary school Tuesday through an improperly closed door and asked about security presence on campus. Authorities and was asked about security presence on campus, it is said. Kyle Chris, 39, also known as Mukhai Mohanad Najim was arrested at his home Wednesday night and faces a felony charge of unlawfully carrying a weapon in a prohibited place after the incident at Zink Elementary School, according to Fox Houston reports. Now, Chris originally is from Baghdad, Iraq, became a naturalized U.S. citizen on August 24th of 2022, and changed his name to Kyle Najim Chris, according to court documents. He was arrested at his home, located minutes from the school, by Klein Independent School District Police. Chris allegedly told authorities that he was a security guard, but he was actually unemployed, the reports state. So he was lying to them on campus, armed and with tactical gear in an elementary school. The district said that Chris got into the school during a 15-second window when the doors didn't click shut after a parent left the building. He was wearing what appeared to be a uniform and had a holster firearm, the district says. However, the school's secure vestibule system stopped him from going any further by keeping him trapped in the front office area, the district said. So if it weren't for that, he would have been able to get access to the students. When the individual was asked by the front office staff to provide identification, he did not provide identification, and the front office staff immediately contacted our armed full-time campus guards, the district said in a letter to parents obtained by Fox News Digital. Chris was unable to get into the hallways where the students were located. Now, he left the school grounds and drove away, the district said. No students or staffers were harmed. Parents were notified of the incident on Wednesday, the district said, because they were working with law enforcement to identify Chris. Sending a public notification during that window could have jeopardized those efforts, tipped off the suspect, and delayed the arrest. Law enforcement had the individual under constant surveillance today, and out of an abundance of caution, additional security measures were in place on campus, including increased police presence. Now, Chris is being held at the Harris County Jail on $75,000 bond, according to jail records. Now, in addition to that, let's take a look at this one that's giving us a little bit more information here. The armed man in full tactical gear arrested for entering a Texas elementary school has been identified as Mohanad Najim. And it says an armed man with tactical gear and a firearm was able to walk into the Zwink Elementary School in Klein, Texas on Tuesday this week. Kyle Najim Chris, also known as Mohanad Najim, 39, of Klein, has been charged with possession of a prohibited weapon and charge associated with bringing a weapon on school grounds. So they said that he actually was trying to get access to the school, but he was not able to do so. And as a result, they're saying that this could have been another potential attack that was thwarted. So, man, very concerning information coming out here. Now, luckily, those kids in those schools in Houston, Texas, were not able to be accessed by that individual because of the security systems they had set in place. They said that he was locked in the front area, was not able to get through to the school, but he had tactical gear on and a firearm on him. So very concerning. Now, we're also seeing this after we saw the Michigan synagogue attacked as well. Let's take a look at some updates on that and let me know, are you concerned about this? We're starting to see a pattern emerge on community areas, on children. Take a look. Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Are you concerned about more potential attacks hitting? Let's take a look at this video footage.
For more on this, we want to go out to Fox News' Liviana Calmeza joining us here with the latest. Liviana, what are you learning today as more reaction, no doubt, coming from lawmakers and community members?
Yeah, good evening. There's a lot more reaction coming in really by the hour, and we expect even more from the FBI later to come out. But we just heard from the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, which is where we believe that shooter was from. That mayor saying that they have increased patrol around houses of worship, schools, and community centers over there. Earlier today, we heard from the Michigan governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and she said this was a act of hate. She said you need to call out anti-Semitism when you see it.
Yesterday's attack was anti-Semitism. It was hate, plain and simple. We will fight this ancient and rampant evil. We will stand together as we do it. This is not a political moment. This is not a political debate. This is targeting babies, or Jewish. That's anti-Semitism at its absolute worst.
The Oakland County Sheriff says the suspect, identified as Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, drove a truck right through the doors of Temple Israel. Inside, there were more than 100 young children under 5 years old. That's what the governor meant by saying babies there. Officials saying he had a rifle with him when he crashed his truck into the building, hitting and knocking a security guard unconscious. He's expected to be okay. But they also say that the suspect had some sort of explosive device, and the truck he drove burst into flames. Eventually, another security guard was able to shoot the suspect, who was found dead inside his vehicle. And on that suspect, we know that is a 41-year-old born in Lebanon who came to the U.S. in 2011. He got citizenship in 2016. And officials say he lived in Dearborn. And according to the mayor there, he'd recently lost family members to an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon. And the FBI is trying to still officially nail down a motive here. And we should be hearing from them in just a couple hours as well. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, talk about a very, very scary situation for that community. The amount of first responders that came there, you were thinking, okay, this could be very, very bad. But luckily, it turns out that everyone was okay inside. There
you have it, you guys. Very disturbing. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more updates on that as well.
And let's bring in Republican Congressman John James from Michigan's 10th District, not far from where this attack took place. Congressman, I'm sorry that your constituents are dealing with this. What are you hearing from them about this attack?
It's heartbreaking all around. Our prayers continue to go up for the Jewish community and all those who are affected. But the highest of accolades for our brave law enforcement officers who responded to the challenge, but also to wonderful teachers and staff members at Temple Israel who responded to keep those children safe. We are not discussing a more deep tragedy because everybody did what they were supposed to, and we are in debt for their bravery.
What can you tell us about security measures being taken at the state, federal, or local levels to keep synagogues in your district and around the country safe?
Well, places of worship should never be targets. And this is something that we should all agree to. Places of worship are places of peace. Places of worship are places of community and unity, and they should be held sacred and safe. And so we are all unified behind this, and we're going to continue to increase support for our schools and for our places of worship. And these are things that we can unify behind. We're going to continue to funding of DHS, so people who are doing the brave work each and every single day of keeping our communities safe have the funding that they require to keep doing their jobs.
And we've seen security heightened and warnings from law enforcement about potential violence in America linked to what's happening in the Middle East. What more do you think we should be doing to prevent any possible violence on that front?
Of course, we need to turn down the temperature. And the number one thing, particularly with anti-Jew violence, we need to make sure that we are turning down the anti-Semitic rhetoric and calling it out where we see it. Anti-Semitism in any form of it is wrong, and we need to call it out. There is no such thing as light anti-Semitism. These are the types of things that fester and grow in a community, and they lead to attacks like this. We need to call it out. We need to wrap our arms around each other. We need to make sure that we live in America where everyone can live in peace, safety. We can assimilate as one nation under God, and we can set the example for what's possible here.
And we just heard that same message from Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer calling on everyone to lower the temperature on rhetoric. Your Republican Congressman Andy Ogles caused some controversy days before this for posting on X this quote, "Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie." What's your response to that statement and that kind of rhetoric in general?
Hatred doesn't belong in American society. If you come here legally and you assimilate and you are willing to be an American, one nation under God, then we are a welcoming place. The greatest thing about what we just saw over the past few weeks with the Winter Olympics is you see nations walking under their flag and they look the same. But when you see the red, white, and blue come out, You see people of all races, colors, creeds, gay, straight, male and female, all proud to be American. That is what we're all about. That's what we have to celebrate. And those are the types of things that matter. So when we continue to focus on the things that unify us and bring us together, then those are going to be the things that get us through these hard times and make sure that we have fewer of them in the future.
All right, Congressman John James, we appreciate your time today, sir. Thank you.
There you have it, you guys. Now, we have heard the warnings of the potential sleeper cell attacks all across the United States for quite some time now, but we're hearing that the activation has likely taken place here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article to get you more updated information here, as we're hearing that a senator issues a warning on sleeper cells attacking within the United States. This coming out today, March 13th, says Senator Kristen Gillibrand of New York, a New York Democrat, said that she is concerned about sleeper cells attacking within the United States amid the war in Iran. I have very deep concerns about retaliatory attacks. I'm concerned about cyber warfare. I'm concerned about sleeper cells within the United States, Gillibrand said on CNN Thursday. Now, here's why it matters. U.S. law enforcement agencies received a federal alert saying that the government intercepted an encrypted transmission believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets outside the country, ABC News reported. The war in Iran started on February 28th with U.S. and Israeli strikes, resulting in the death of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The encrypted transmission was relayed across multiple countries shortly after the leader's death, according to ABC News. The report comes amid growing concerns of potential attacks in the U.S. as the war continues. Mayors in several major cities have said that they will continue increased law enforcement presence at religious institutions following an attack at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan on Thursday. The FBI is also investigating a deadly shooting at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, as an act of terrorism. Now, in addition to that, we also saw those IEDs that were thrown in front of the mayor's mansion in New York. And we also saw Houston, Texas, what unfolded on Tuesday. We also saw that attack that took place in Austin, Texas. And we have the threat, unverified though, according to Carolyn Leavitt's White House press secretary, that there is potential threat of attack of drones in California. Now, here is what to know. Gillibrand said on CNN that New York is typically the #1 terror target post 9/11. We are on high alert in New York City right now. They have increased different patrols, and we are making sure that our sensitive sites are protected as best as we can, the senator said. Domestic New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani said on X Thursday, following the attack at Temple Israel, "My thoughts are with the congregation and all who are shaken by this act of anti-Semitic violence. I am continuing to closely monitor the situation. Out of an abundance of caution, the NYPD will continue to deploy high-visibility patrols of Jewish religious and cultural institutions across the 5 boroughs." Gillibrand said that she had a great deal of confidence in government fusion centers, which combined information from the Department of Defense, the CIA, National Security Agency, NYPD, and the FBI. "We have subverted dozens of terror attacks since 9/11, Gillibrand said. The FBI warned police departments in California in recent days that Iran could be retaliating for American attacks by launching drones at the West Coast, according to an alert reviewed by ABC News. We recently acquired unverified information that as of early February 2026, Iran allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, from an unidentified vessel off the coast of the United States homeland, specifically against unspecified targets in California. In the event the U.S. conducted strikes against Iran, the alert distributed at the end of February said, according to the outlets. We have no additional information on the timing, the method, the targets, or the perpetrators of this alleged attack. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom said that there was no imminent threat to the state. We've been aware of that information. It's all about a posture of preparedness for worst-case scenarios, Newsom said on Wednesday. So here's what people are saying. President Donald Trump, I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with the stupid open borders, but we know where most of them are. We've got an eye on all of them, I think. So Donald Trump's saying, we know where they are. They're watching them, keeping an eye on them. Gillibrand, also on CNN Thursday. I have very significant and deep concerns about the American people's security. This war has not made us safer. This war has cost us over $11 billion. It's costing between $1 and $2 billion a day, a war that Congress has not voted for, meaning the American people have not been able to voice their views on this war through their representatives. And this illegal war is costing us dearly in lives and in resources. And I hope that our professional NYPD and FBI and national security resources will be strong and effective enough to keep all Americans safe. So here's what happens next. Trump said the Iran war could be nearing an end and that the U.S. and Israeli forces have effectively dismantled Iran's military capabilities. You know, you never want to say too early you won. We won. The first hour, it was over, Trump said to reporters Wednesday night during a speech at a packaging plant in Hebron, Kentucky, before adding, "We don't want to leave early, do we? We've got to finish the job." So there you have it, you guys. The warnings coming out, the alerts about potential sleeper cell attacks coming to the United States. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some more video footage as we're hearing more warnings coming out today, March 13th, 2026.
The U.S. is on high alert due to a recent string of attacks here at home. The FBI is investigating the attack on a synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan, as a, quote, targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. The suspect drove a truck through the doors and down the hallway of Temple Israel Thursday afternoon. Law enforcement tells CBS News the suspect exited the truck with a rifle and was confronted and killed by Temple security. The Oakland County Sheriff says the man was found dead in his car. More than 100 children were at the synagogue for school at the time of the attack. No one else was injured. This is one of several that has taken place across the country over the past week. The FBI is investigating a deadly shooting at Old Dominion University in Virginia as a potential act of terrorism. One person was killed and 2 others were injured during the attack. And over the weekend, 2 teens were arrested after throwing homemade explosive devices allegedly outside the mayor's mansion in New York City. The bombs did not detonate and no one was injured. CBS News senior coordinating producer of our crime and public safety unit, Anna Schechter, joins us now. Let's go back to Michigan. Let's talk about the suspect and what you're learning about him.
Sure. Well, Ayman Ghazali, 41 years old, was born in Lebanon, moved to the U.S. in 2011, came here on a spousal visa. He was a naturalized citizen, naturalized in 2016. He worked at a local restaurant, and our own Asha Qureshi spoke to community members who were shocked that he carried out this horrific attack, but he'd become reclusive in the last week. This was apparently after his 2 brothers and children from one of them were killed in strikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon.
And so what else are we learning about the security guards who jumped into action?
Well, one of the security guards confronted him and he was knocked unconscious. He had to go to a local hospital and he's going to be okay, but he did stay overnight. Now, he was part of a team that was trained by local FBI, the FBI Detroit field office in January. They'd actually worked together to talk about a security plan, talk about and do some training. Now, we also know that in the 2 weeks leading up to the attack, the security team for the synagogue was in daily contact with local law enforcement. So they knew they were in a heightened threat environment. They were, in fact, the Jewish communities around the country were getting thousands of threats against them. And they were aware of this and had a really good plan in place.
What happens next? Where does this go from here? I know that the suspect, according to authorities, had more explosives in his truck, right? So I'm assuming that they're going to be trying to figure out how he came to obtain those.
Great question. When and how he purchased those explosives and the rifle that was with him. The ATF is tracing that gun. We have not heard. Usually we would hear by now, maybe in the next few hours, possibly tomorrow morning, we'll hear about the purchase of that firearm. And then also they're looking at his electronic communications. Was he communicating with anyone else? Now, the reporting we have does not indicate that he was being directed by, say, Hezbollah, which is an IRGC proxy, a proxy of the Iranian regime. So we don't have that reporting, but they want to find out and make sure that there was nothing like that, because that changes the game. And then there's a foreign terrorist organization involved. Right now, it's being investigated as a targeted attack on the Jewish community.
Okay, Anna Schechter, thank you. The FBI is investigating yesterday's deadly shooting at Old Dominion University in Virginia as an act of terrorism. Former Virginia National Guardsman Mohammed Baylor Jalla is accused of killing one person and injuring two others. Authorities say the shooter walked into a class at Old Dominion yesterday and asked if it was an ROTC class. And when someone said it was, he began shooting. Investigators have confirmed that ROTC instructor Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw died in the attack. Two other people were hurt, and our Norfolk affiliate talked to friends of the instructor who was killed.
He was just so close to the finish line. He was about to retire. He was still active duty. This was his last assignment.
Brandon was awesome. He was the epitome of the Army cadet. He was like a great leader. He wanted to become and teach the future Army soldiers, so that's what he did.
And for more on heightened security concerns across the nation, let's bring in Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky and White House Correspondent Mary Bruce. And Aaron, what are you hearing in the wake of these two incidents?
From the onset of the war in Iran, Michael, law enforcement officials have been expressing their concerns to us about violence here at home. And just think about what's happened in the last 2 weeks. A mass shooting targeted a bar in Austin, Texas. Two teens were charged with bringing homemade bombs to New York City in what authorities here called an attempted ISIS-inspired attack. Then the shooting at Old Dominion University and the vehicle ramming at the Michigan synagogue. Temple Israel in West Bloomfield had recently undergone active shooter training, and the rabbi had spoken publicly about increasing security due to the heightened threats associated with the war in Iran. The driver, Ayman Ghazali, was a naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon. He posted that relatives had been killed in the ongoing Israeli strikes in his native country. He packed his truck with fireworks and an unidentified chemical agent that then ignited. Now, police here in New York and in cities across the country are stepping up patrols, particularly outside synagogues now and other locations connected to the Jewish community.
Yeah, everybody's senses are really heightened right now. And let's bring in our Chief White House Correspondent, Mary Bruce, on this. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Michael. Well, the president has called these attacks a disgrace, a shame, and very sad. The president has said these are, quote, sick and demented people. And in those brief remarks yesterday, he said he is sending his love to the Michigan Jewish community. He called this kind of thing a terrible thing and promised to get to the bottom of it. But he hasn't commented yet on any potential link between the suspect and the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The president has been pressed repeatedly since the start of the war about threats to the homeland and retaliation from Iran more broadly, and he has said he's not too concerned. But Michael, what we're seeing now appears to be individuals striking out on their own.
So authorities across the country are on a high alert after two crimes rocked the U.S., starting in Virginia, an ROTC student taking down a suspect who opened fire on a classroom, killing one person. The FBI, revealing sources, said that the suspect said Allahu Akbar before the shooting. Just hours later, a suspect rammed into a Michigan synagogue before exiting with a rifle and what agents are calling a targeted attack. Security shot and killed him. Joining us now is James Galliano, Fox News contributor and retired FBI supervisory special agent. James, good to see you, brother. I just want to show you this growing timeline, and we're hoping that we can nip this in the bud. But March 1st, you had that bar shooting in Austin, Texas. Saturday, attempted bombing in New York City. And then Thursday, the synagogue attack in West Bloomfield, Michigan. And of course, Thursday, the Old Dominion University shooting in Norfolk, Virginia. This is spanning across the country and looks like most of all of these motivations are radical Islam.
Yeah, and LJ, I'll tell you, I think since 9/11, there's been some 53 plots that were either foiled by the FBI or law enforcement or successful in the United States involving radical Islamists. Look, this is the suicidal empathy we talk about all the time, where there just isn't a proper process to vet these people. As you pointed out, in those four attacks, either naturalized citizens or the children of naturalized citizens. I think this is absolutely an assimilation problem, and that's something that we've got to focus on in our country right now.
You know, James, you were one of the big guns here in New York with the FBI, and you know how hard it is to build a counterterrorism case. Were you shocked to learn that one of the perpetrators of this act was convicted of providing material support and was released early.
Yeah, should have gone to jail for 20 years, Lawrence, and I believe did somewhere in the neighborhood of 132 months. And again, it goes back to that suicidal empathy. The judge here decided that somebody that was tried and convicted of providing material support to ISIS deserved a second chance. And this was his second chance. And Lawrence, with all the attention since October 23rd in Israel and the war in Iran right now, we are going to see more ISIS-related and inspired attacks. And why is that? Well, propaganda and attention is the coin of the realm in the terror business. And ISIS doesn't want Hamas and Hezbollah getting all the attention. So I think now more than ever, we need to pay attention to these potential lone wolf attacks.
Well, James, also there seems to be this growing movement, and I talked about it even in my home state of Texas, of isolation with these communities that are not assimilating. And because of this new culture of wokeness and everything, it's like, let them be. But doesn't that breed moments like these, though?
Yeah, so what's the opposite of assimilation, LJ? Insularity. And that's what's going on in these places. Look, my family came here in 1905 from Sicily. They were proud Sicilians, but they were Americans first, and they worked hard to assimilate. When you set up these communities and you make them closed in, and then you foment hate, and that's what this is about. These folks are trying to get back at a culture and a civilization which they want to be a part of, but then they don't. And to your point, very difficult to determine who are the ones that are the true threats and who are the ones that just tolerate the threat in their midst.
Mm-hmm. It's such a good point. If you want to be a part of the country, then you have to be a part of the experiment. Be a part of it. And if you miss the culture that you're leaving, so there's always the opportunity to go back. But you have to choose the American way.
There you have it, you guys. Now, we are hearing, as he said, that there are a lot of these individuals that have come here and they're assimilated apparently into the culture. We're hearing that the one was from 2016, but then they are initiating attacks right now with everything that is going on. And we saw that, as I mentioned, on Tuesday of this week in Houston, the news coming out on this, that there was an individual wearing tactical gear. He was armed and he entered into an elementary school. And that is the disturbing pattern that we're beginning to see, is potential threats of attacks against schools and children. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more updates so that way you can see the latest that's been coming out on this.
Well, we have seen some violent attacks, and they are raising terror concerns here at home as conflict with Iran rages in the Middle East. And authorities say an armed, naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon attacked a Michigan synagogue yesterday. And this is what really was glaring about it, because when you looked at the live screen yesterday as this was happening, you couldn't tell what was on fire, what had happened. That man drove his truck into the building, hit one security guard before that security guard shot and killed him. So thankful for that. But then the vehicle caught fire. But like a miracle, none of the staff or the 105 young children at the synagogue's child care center was hurt. The FBI describes the attack as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. Here is Michigan Senator Elissa Slotkin.
Whether anti-Semitism is coming from the left or the right, whether it's coming from some group that you like or don't like, you have a responsibility to call it out. Because when you don't, it gives permission for people to climb that escalation, that ladder of escalation that goes from saying hateful things online to saying them in person to graffiti to ultimately violence.
It's something that Republicans have been saying with all the open border years under President Biden. They have said it, and now it looks like Democrats, unfortunately, are starting to say that message under pressure. Wow. In Virginia yesterday, the campus of Old Dominion University was also the site of violence. That happened during this hour of the Faulkner Focus. A convicted ISIS supporter shot 3 people, killing 1. He was subdued by several ROTC cadets in training, and boy, they know how to fight. One of them stabbed and killed the gunman. The two attacks in one day highlight the need to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security, nearly 1 month after Democrats began blocking that money. So you heard me bring up politics there. This is why I bring it up. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy reports from the North Lawn at the White House. Peter.
Harris, we are hearing from experts and officials that an old ISIS playbook has been opened up because terrorists see a very specific opportunity in this environment.
With all the attention since October 23rd in Israel and the war in Iran right now, we are going to see more ISIS-related and inspired attacks. And why is that? Well, propaganda and attention is the coin of the realm in the terror business. And ISIS doesn't want Hamas and Hezbollah getting all the attention. So I think now more than ever, we need to pay attention to these potential lone wolf attacks.
This morning, War Secretary Hegseth didn't seem worried about the law enforcement bulletin warning of Iran's aspirations to attack California with drones because the intel is unverified. There are many other reports the Pentagon does seem more concerned with.
Ultimately, I look at the reports on a daily basis of threat. Our interagencies all over it. My partners across government are all over looking for indications and warnings, keeping the American people safe. There's a lot of things Iran has said it can do for a long time, thankfully, including engaging their proxies and getting them involved in the fight, which they haven't been able to do. So we're watching that very closely.
Democratic White Houses that predated the Trump administration have dealt with potential Iran attacks as well. But there has never been an American campaign against Iran like Epic Fury.
There's no question that certainly in wake of the attacks on Iran that we've got to focus very keenly on the potential for terrorist attacks here at home.
And to that point, President Trump says that he's been briefed about potential Iran terror suspects here in the United States. He says, though, that the feds have eyes on them. Harris.
Peter Doocy, thank you very much. Additional background information now on the Old Dominion gunman shows. In 2016, he was convicted of providing material support to ISIS. The Justice Department was asking for a 20-year prison sentence for him. He got just 11 years in a prison term and was released fewer than 2 years ago. So he did 7 years instead of a potential 20. A lot of questions as to why that is. We read part of the report on him, and his attorneys at the time had looked at, well, can he get some support for drug addiction? And they wanted 6.5 years. Well, it looks like in the long term, eventually, they almost got their way. He served only 6 months longer than that. In focus, Stuart Kaplan, a former FBI special agent, global security risk management expert, and a criminal defense attorney. So glad you're with me today. First of all, walk me through what it means to have someone who is open, wants to perpetrate a crime like the attack on Fort Hood in Texas, wants to do those sorts of things and then walks away after 7 years instead of a longer prison sentence. Any thoughts?
Well, a lot of thoughts, and quite frankly, I'm going to pull the Band-Aid off, even though it's going to hurt the probation department, the United States Probation Department. When this individual was released in December of 2024 after serving a very short prison stint, he then automatically goes on what's called supervised release. That supervised release, pursuant to the original sentence, was for 5 years. That means that a United States probation officer would have been assigned to him to monitor him. And I think clearly this incident that unfolded yesterday at Old Dominion College perhaps could have been avoided. It seems to me he got access to a weapon. He wasn't being monitored properly or sufficiently. I don't believe that he just woke up yesterday and decided that this was the particular day he was going to do what he did. There seems to have been some planning or some plotting, and I think there's going to be some accountability here with respect to the United States Probation Department as as to why they were asleep at the switch with respect to failing to properly monitor him, and also how this individual, where he got the weapon that unfortunately caused the loss of one individual's life. That first is front and center. And then, of course, look, this is not a political statement. If you're here naturalized as a naturalized citizen, that's a privilege. That's not a matter of right. If you're convicted of assisting or engaging in a terrorist act, it seems to me that you should lose your citizenship right and be shipped back to your country of origin.
You know, and to kind of make a finer point on that, we talk about people being rehabilitated in prison. In your experience, is it almost impossible, or would it have been easy to try to rehabilitate this guy? I know they wanted to put him through an anti-drug program. They wanted to treat whatever drug addiction that his attorneys say he had. And by the way, when you read through the court records, the reports of it, it was never even really shown if he qualified for one of those programs, but they gave him the right to do that. What is your thought? Can we rehabilitate these people in prison? Because it doesn't look like they could with this guy.
Well, unfortunately, and I'll put my criminal defense hat back on, there are programs that are offered through the judicial process, through the Bureau of Prisons, that if, in fact, you sign up for these programs and successfully complete them, it does shave off time. To that point, that's an advantage to an individual who wants to accelerate and get out sooner than later.
All right. Doesn't speak necessarily to the idea of can you rehabilitate somebody who wants to kill Americans in the name of terrorism and ISIS, as he did 2 years after he got out.
There you have it, you guys. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with the Faulkner focus there, as she said that we need to fund DHS? She said right now the terrorists are seeing this as an opportunity, as we have that part of the government not funded. If you think we need to fund DHS, put DHS in the comments. Department of Homeland Security. We're hearing that they're saying we're shorthanded. And right now, the terrorists are seeing this as an opportunity to attack sleeper cells, initiate lone wolf attacks. All these are happening right now because of this, they are saying. If you think they need to be funded, put DHS. If you think no, put no in the comments, or put Dems, because the Democrats are the ones that are leading the charge, as they said, on making sure that DHS is not funded. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this. We got more information coming out regarding the sleeper cells. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Today, and the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, taking a lot of questions, and the Senator, Alyssa Slotkin, as well. The investigation is underway. Thank goodness. The young people that go to preschool there, no one was hurt. But we have a lot of serious questions about what's happening there. And the governor was calling for a decline in divisive rhetoric. But I think we also need some proactive policing going on.
Couldn't agree more. And you heard Senator Slotkin say that DHS has to be funded. We got the perfect guest to talk about that. Let's go ahead and bring in Jay Johnson, former DHS Secretary under President Obama. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We're obviously in an elevated threat environment right now, while DHS remains unfunded for 4 weeks now. There have been reports that hundreds of TSA agents have already quit. They can't afford to work without pay. They're missing another paycheck today. You and I were talking. These are the people checking for bombs at the airports, and the ones who are still working right now probably aren't too motivated working without pay. How crazy do you think it is that, given this environment we're in, DHS is still unfunded?
It's very crazy. As the senator pointed out a moment ago in that press briefing, DHS is more than just immigration enforcement. It's more than what Americans saw, Border Patrol, ICE in Minneapolis. It's aviation security, it's maritime security, it's port security, it's cyber security, it's the Secret Service, it's FEMA. It's a whole host of missions to keep Americans safe. And TSOs work paycheck to paycheck when they're getting paid. Morale traditionally in TSA is low, and these are the people we pay to look for bombs on the airplane you and your family are about to get on. DHS has been unfunded now for a month. We have to get out of the business, and this is a nonpartisan statement. Republicans and Democrats have to get out of the business of coupling policy disagreements in Congress with funding government agencies. The most basic task of a member of Congress is to keep the lights on and pay the bills. And if we can't even do that in Congress, then Americans justifiably should be very upset with Washington all around. This is the Department of Government that exists to keep us safe, and we are in a heightened threat environment right now.
It's like a mayor. You have to pick up the trash. This is the basic issue. Like the Congress, you control the purse strings. So you need to control the purse strings. You cannot allow TSA agents to bear the brunt of this every few weeks when you can't figure out the government. But I have a question for you. As you look back, do you think the Department of Homeland Security is too big? Like, does there need to be a rethinking of that whole department?
Excellent question. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. DHS was created in 2003.
There you have it, you guys. So we're hearing them talk about DHS and the funding and saying that, hey, we need to make sure that they are funded to keep the nation safe. And they're discussing theoretically whether or not it should be bigger, smaller, whatever the case is. Right now, we're hearing that, as I mentioned to you, there are threats around the nation. And simultaneously, we're also hearing that the war is going to be escalating. Take a look at the latest headlines coming out today. The U.S. is going to be sending USS Tripoli, thousands of Marines to the Middle East. Let's go ahead and take a look at this to get you caught up on the latest. Today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is going to be sending an amphibious assault ship, the USS Tripoli, and its Marine Expeditionary Unit to the Middle East. A senior U.S. official confirmed to Axios on Friday today. So we have heard the warnings that there could be U.S. boots on the ground going into Iran. Now, we had heard the Trump administration saying that we might go in, we might get the enriched uranium from Iran and then take it away, maybe dilute it, get rid of it somehow, some way. They're going to go in, and they're saying boots on the ground. There's a lot of people that are concerned, though, about sending our military into Iran. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that we are about to see U.S. troops enter Iran? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. A lot of people concerned about us making this war longer than it should be, concerned about getting our troops in there. There are others saying no, we need to do this because we need to get that enriched uranium out of there. We cannot live in a world where Iran has a nuclear weapon or even the potential to develop one. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article so I can get you caught up on this coming out today. Here's why it matters. The deployment will add thousands of Marine, several warships, and F-35 fighter jets to support those already in the region, the U.S. officials have said. The U.S. officials said that the U.S. Central Command asked for the new force in order to have more options for military operations against Iran. This would be a ground option. The Marine Expeditionary Unit will be able to conduct ground operations if ordered. So if we want to go that route, we're hearing that Donald Trump is getting this into position. The U.S. official declined to comment on that possibility. The Marine Expeditionary Force is moving into the region as Iran continues to target traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, driving up global oil, shipping, and insurance prices. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on Thursday yesterday that U.S. Navy escorts for commercial ships in the Strait could begin soon. Bessent said that the disruptions have already cost the U.S. $11 billion. Sources with knowledge said that before such efforts could begin, the U.S. military is planning potential operations for taking out land-based anti-ship missiles that the Iranians have deployed in the Strait area. 13 U.S. military members have died in the conflict as of Friday following the crash of a refueling tanker aircraft in Iraq. Now, here's what they're saying. We're on plan to defeat, destroy, disable all of the meaningful military capabilities at a pace that the world has never seen before, Hegseth insisted in a news conference on Friday. But it's not just that Iran doesn't have a functioning air force, or that their entire navy is at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, or their missile force is shrinking daily. They also don't have the ability to build more. That's the most important component that I'd like to emphasize today, he said. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair General Dan Kane said that U.S. Central Command will continue to destroy the Iranian Navy to ensure freedom of navigation. And this means going after Iran's mine-laying capabilities and destroying their ability to attack commercial vessels. Now, zooming in, the entire Tripoli Expeditionary Strike Group includes the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, the USS Tripoli, guided missile cruiser USS Robert Smalls, and guided missile destroyer USS Rafael Peralta. The Pentagon did not respond to Axios's requests for comments. So there you have it. We're hearing that troops on the ground are being positioned. Pentagon sending an assault ship, at least 2,500 Marines towards Iran as U.S. works to reopen the Strait of Hormuz while oil prices are spiking. The Pentagon is deploying the USS Tripoli and up to 5,000 military service members to the Middle East after President Donald Trump vowed Friday to unleash unparalleled firepower on the deranged scumbags leading Iran. That was his statement today. The deployment of the amphibious assault ships comes as the American military admits it's currently unable to dislodge Iranian influence over the vital Strait of Hormuz as global oil prices strike. Now, the expected 2-week voyage from East Asia matches Energy Secretary Chris Wright's timeframe of by the end of the month for reopening the crucial waterways. Now, the repositioning of the Tripoli, which resembles an aircraft carrier but is smaller and operates closer to the shore, was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. The precise scale of the deployment is unclear. The Journal reported that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth authorized the use of an element of an amphibious ready group and attached Marine expeditionary units, typically consisting of several warships and 5,000 Marines and sailors. Fox News Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin confirmed the deployment, but reported that approximately 2,500 Marines are part of the repositioning, and they are saying that this could be potentially for a boots-on-the-ground mission, that these are going to be boots-on-the-ground troops ready if called upon. And we've heard that they are taking this into consideration. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are we about to see U.S. troops on the ground? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts, but let's take a look at some video footage covering this as well.
Now the U.S. is sending 3 Navy warships and more than 2,000 Marines to the Middle East. What more are you hearing about that?
Diane, yes, we have new reporting that 2,200 Marines based in Japan will be transported across on 3 amphibious ships, which is pretty standard. It's called an amphibious ready group, and they normally patrol inside the Indo-Pacific area, which is Asia. But instead, they have been ordered and redirected towards the Middle East. What is important about this is that these are ground forces. We've talked about ships, we've talked about fighter aircraft, but this is a ground force that also includes aviation. They also have F-35s and V-22 Osprey aboard these ships. But from what we understand, this doesn't mean that the United States is preparing a ground force to go into Iran. This is just a capability, an option that is available to military planners because they always want to have as many forces available as needed. And these Marine units, this 31st MU as it's called, brings a lot of options and a lot of variability to the table. Now the question is, how long will they be there? And is it possible that we may see further of these units headed out to the Middle East as well?
And Louis, what are you watching for next?
Well, one of the things that we've talked about is what happens to the uranium stockpile. We've heard shifting narratives about how the United States is going to try maybe to use ground forces to try to seize some of the 430 kilograms of enriched uranium that Iran possesses, which most of it is believed to be underground at those facilities that were bombed by.
There you have it, you guys. And so we're hearing that this is a potential option that's going to be made available. And right now we could see a ground invasion here. We're seeing the preparation starting for what could unfold. Now, in addition to that, speaking of that, take a look at this. Trump threatens the Iranian leaders. Watch what's going to happen to these deranged scumbags today, Trump says. President Trump boasted of the U.S. military strength in an early Friday morning social media post threatening Tehran with new attacks. This coming out today, March 13th, 2026. We have unparalleled firepower, unlimited ammunitions, and plenty of time. Watch what happens to these deranged scumbags today, the president wrote in a Truth Social post. They've been killing innocent people all over the world for 47 years. And now I, as the 47th president of the United States of America, am killing them, he continued. What a great honor it is to do so. Trump began his Friday message by criticizing U.S. media's coverage of Operation Epic Fury. We are totally destroying the terrorist regime of Iran, military, economically, and otherwise. Yet, if you read the failing New York Times, You would incorrectly think that we are not winning, the president said. Iran's navy is gone. Their air force is no longer. Missiles, drones, and everything else are being decimated, and their leaders have been wiped from the face of the earth, he added. It's unclear if Trump was referring to a specific story with his dig at the New York Times. The outlet reported this week that Trump and his advisors miscalculated Iran's response to the war and scooped an initial Pentagon assessment pointing blame at the U.S. for a strike that killed scores of girls at a school early in the war. U.S. military operations have hit approximately 6,000 Iranian targets since the conflict began at the end of February and have hit or sunk more than 90 Iranian vessels, according to U.S. Central Command. Trump's threats follow a stark warning on Thursday from Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, to U.S. bases in the region. They said that they put U.S. bases on alert for potential attacks. In his first public message since succeeding his father, the former Iranian supreme leader, who was killed by joint missile strikes from the U.S. and Israel on Tehran, Khamenei vowed to avenge the blood of those killed during the conflict. Khamenei also lost his wife and was injured during the strike that killed his father. The Strait of Hormuz must remain closed. American bases in the Middle East must be closed, the new leader said in a statement read by Iranian state media. Iran's other military and regional capabilities will be activated if necessary. Retaliatory strikes from Iran on U.S. bases in the Middle East left 7 service members dead. An additional 4 U.S. military soldiers died on Thursday after a refueling aircraft crashed in western Iraq as a part of Operation Epic Fury, CENTCOM has said. Now, in addition to that, mentioning how they feel that they are not correctly reporting the information, we're going to be taking a look here at what Pete Hegseth had to say. And he also said, take a look at this, that the Iranian supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured. Some people even speculating that he is dead, that he died, and that the regime is just using him almost as a front, pretending that he is alive. Let me know your thoughts. Is he alive? Is he dead? Or is he severely wounded? Put dead, alive, or wounded in the comments. Let me know what you think is the current state of Mojtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said on Friday today that Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is wounded and likely disfigured. Hegseth's claim was the first official statement by the Trump administration about Khamenei's health since he was named the country's new leader. Iran's leadership is in no better shape. Desperate and hiding, they have gone underground, cowering. That's what rats do. We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured, Hegseth told reporters at the briefing. Now, President Donald Trump told G7 leaders in a virtual meeting on Wednesday that Khamenei is not in good shape, according to sources with knowledge of the call. Nobody knows who is the leader, so there is no one that can announce surrender, Trump said. Now, in an interview with Fox News Radio that aired on Friday morning, Trump also claimed that Khamenei is wounded. I think he probably is alive. I think he's damaged, but I think he's probably alive in some form, Trump said. The State Department on Friday announced that it will give up to $10 million for information on Khamenei and 9 other senior officials in the Iranian regime. Also on the list were Ali Larijani, the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council in Iran, Iranian Minister of Intelligence Ismail Khatib, Iran's Minister of Interior Eskander Momani, and the commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. Now, on Thursday, Khamenei issued his first public message, vowing that his country will take revenge for the ongoing U.S. and Israeli strikes. The message was read on Iranian state TV without an accompanying video or photo of Khamenei, who took over as supreme leader after his father Ali Khamenei was killed at the outset of this war. Now, Pete Hegseth cited the written statement as evidence that Khamenei's weakness. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some updates on this, as we're hearing that the new supreme leader might already be dead or if he's alive, they're saying very likely wounded from the missile attacks. We're hearing that his father died, his wife died, I believe his in-laws, a lot of his family has passed. And they're saying that they believe that he is barely alive himself. Let's go to take a look at some of the updates so you can see the latest.
For more on this, let's bring in Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman. He's a former CIA chief of station. We had the update this morning from the military perspective on what they consider as the successes so far. How would you assess the intelligence?
Well, I think the intelligence has been extraordinary. I think the key to the precision strikes that we've launched on Iran's ballistic missiles and their drone capability, the nuclear program, that all hinges on human source intelligence, signals intelligence, and overhead reconnaissance. Those are the eyes and the ears for the U.S. military to be able to launch those strikes. Now, Director CIA Ratcliffe is on the hook to report on internal Iranian regime dynamics. We still haven't seen the new supreme leader. There are questions, I think, about whether he might simply be a figurehead for hardline IRGC commanders. Iran's plans and intentions right now critical for Secretary Hegseth and the warfighting team. Understanding Iran's intentions in the Strait of Hormuz and beyond, important for us as we continue this war effort.
Can you talk about a little bit more about in terms of the Ayatollah? Because, as you said, no proof of life per se. President Trump had thoughts he was on with Kilmeade. Watch here.
Finally, we hear from the Supreme Leader in a long statement. We don't see him. He doesn't read the speech. They say he wrote the speech. First off, do you believe he's alive?
I think he probably is. I think he's damaged, but I think he's probably alive in some form, yeah.
And so once you have that information, if that is indeed what is the case in Iran, how does intelligence work from there?
Yeah, I think there are lots of questions that I think the President Trump security team is asking our intelligence community. Is the new Ayatollah, is Mujtaba Khamenei fully functional? Is he actually able to put forth Iranian policy and deliberate in such a fashion that he's leading the IRGC the way his father did, or is it the other way around? Those are some critically, I think, important questions. For the Iranian regime, it's just about survival at this point. I don't think they care whether we bomb their country into oblivion. If they are able to exact enough pain on the West, on the United States, for the rise in the price of oil and shooting down soft targets like the oil refinery in Bahrain, then if they're able to survive, I think then they would consider this war for them even a success, because it will give them the chance to rearm and reconstitute. And it will force the United States down the road to do what the Israelis like to say, mow the grass again down the road if Iran seeks to reconstitute their ballistic missile or their nuclear program.
Okay, so then let me ask you about this. Can the intelligence community help reopen or make it more? I know that General Kane said that there are a few ships going back and forth in the Strait of Hormuz, but effectively closed. What can intelligence do to help the military open that back up?
Well, I think we can continue to launch strikes on Iran and deny them the ability to place the mines and keep Iran out of the Strait of Hormuz. That's extraordinarily difficult to do, but intelligence will feed into that process. And I think concurrently, if past is prologue, and what I've seen before with CIA is that the CIA is probably conducting, to the extent that they can, some back-channel negotiations and discussions clandestinely with Iranian officials. One thing we also don't know is the extent to which this hereditary succession, which Iran has always been against, might have split elements of Iran's security forces. And whether we might be able to take advantage of that to split off rival factions and perhaps down the road strike a deal. There's something out there in the offing for Iran, reducing or eliminating sanctions for them in return for giving up the ability to project power and aggression and terrorism overseas.
Dan Hoffman, I'm sure we'll be talking to you more through the weekend. Thank you.
There you have it, you guys. Now, in addition to that, we're also hearing that there is conflicting information regarding the current state of the war. Pete Hegseth had something to say about that. Let me know in the comments. Who do you think is winning this war, the United States or Iran? We're hearing that various reports are coming out that might cause you to think different things. Take a look at what Pete Hegseth had to say about this today.
With every passing hour, we know, and we know they know, that the military capabilities of their evil regime are crumbling. They can barely communicate. let alone coordinate. They're confused, and we know it. Our response? We will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing. No quarter, no mercy for our enemies. Yet some in this crew, in the press, just can't stop. Allow me to make a few suggestions. People look up at the TV and they see banners, they see headlines. I used to be in that business, and I know that everything is written intentionally. For example, a banner or a headline, Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you, if it can be admitted. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better. Another example of a fake headline that I saw yesterday, war widening. Here's a real headline for you for an actual patriotic press. How about Iran shrinking, going underground? You see, Iran's leaders are hiding in bunkers and moving into civilian areas. The only thing that is widening is our advantage. Not to mention our Gulf partners stepping up even more, now going on the offense, and have always been with us on the defense with collective and integrated air defenses. Our will, it is unshakable. Our options, maximized, and our capabilities still building. We're going up, they're going down.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest.
There you have it, you guys. So Pete Hegseth said that the U.S. is going up and Iran is going down. And we're hearing that the United States is ramping up for more war. As I shared with you, boots on the ground are in position. And we're going to be seeing if that call is made. In addition to that, the warnings are coming out for here in the United States as this war continues for potential sleeper cell attacks. And we're seeing disturbing patterns popping up as we saw attacks on schools. And we're hearing that one was potentially thwarted Tuesday in Houston, Texas. And the individual originally was going by the name of Kyle Chris, but they found out that his true identity, that his real name was actually Mohanad Najim, and he's originally from Iraq. Now, they're trying to verify the information, see if it's tied to sleeper cells, lone wolf attacks being initiated. But right now we're hearing that there are disturbing patterns that are popping up everywhere, and everyone is to be on high alert, be vigilant, be ready at all times. So that is the latest coming out, you guys. A lot unfolding. I'll be sure to keep you up to date here on the channel. If you haven't done so yet, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, like button for me. Helps the live stream feed a ton. Subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free, and as you know, I cite all the sources. All the articles are going to be linked down in the description below for you if you'd like to check them out for yourself. But that is the latest. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.